and I turned to see my neighbor, Maeve O'Bannon, through the glass pane on the top half of the door. Her curly gray hair was escaping from a bun fashioned carelessly atop her head, a sure sign she'd been either baking or gardening, which were her two favorite passions. When I signaled her to come in, she raised both hands, which were holding a dish covered by a white linen cloth. One glance, and it took Seth less than a second to push back his chair and pull the door open. "Maeve O'Bannon to the rescue," he said. "A man could starve in this house." Maeve sent a meaningful glance to the fruit bowl on my table, which held 2 apples and an orange. "I guess that would depend on what the man wanted to eat." "My nose has me hoping that you're holding some freshly baked scones, and that you've come to share," Seth said. "Half a point to you. Tell me what kind of scones, and you'll earn a full point, and a scone besides." Maeve always enjoyed bantering with Seth about her baked goods. Seth leaned closer to her and inhaled deeply. "Ah, citrus. Orange. Tell me, Maeve, have you a plateful of your mouth-watering cranberry-orange scones?" "I have indeed." Maeve took off the cloth and placed on the table a lovely crystal platter piled high with lightly iced scones. I took some dessert plates from the cabinet, set out napkins, and reached gratefully for a scone. "Maeve, I didn't even know I was hungry, but after one look at your scones, can I offer you tea or coffee?" "I would welcome a cup of tea if it's not too much trouble," Maeve said as she settled into the chair between mine and Seth's. I served Maeve a cup of tea and sat down to enjoy my scone, which was as delicious as it was fragrant. I was swallowing my final bite and was about to praise her baking skills to the sky when Maeve interrupted my train of thought. "Jessica, I ran into Alicia Richardson in the fruit and veg first thing this morning, and she mentioned that Jed would be flying you off on the first leg of a trip to Belfast." I automatically reached for my to-do list, hoping to check off plants and seedlings, but Maeve distracted me by saying, "I was hoping I could impose on you by asking for a slight favor." Seth interjected, "Maeve, you do know that Jessica isn't merely hopping up the coast to our Belfast. She is flying across the ocean to the original Belfast, the one in Northern Ireland." Maeve nodded. "I do indeed know that, and I can tell you that Belfast is so very near my father's ancestral home in the village of Bushmills. That is why I've come to ask a favor." Although I wasn't at all familiar with the geography of Northern Ireland, I had a momentary fear of traveling hours and hours out of my way so I could snap a picture or two of some ancient ruins of a thatched-roof cottage, the straw and reeds of which had long since given way. Still, Maeve was a good neighbor, and I'd always considered her a friend, so I thought it best to hear her out. "My father was born and raised on a tenant farm just outside Bushmills, but he always had a love of the sea, and with jobs at home being scarce at the time, he left at the age of 17 to become a seafaring man. Oh, he traveled the world several times over, and many an evening when I was a child, he'd sit with his pipe in his hand and me on his knee, and tell about all the places he'd been and the wondrous things he'd seen." Maeve's blue eyes began to glow with the memories. "How did a sailor from Northern Ireland wind up here in Cabot Cove?" Seth wondered aloud. "Ah, now, there's my favorite part of the story. It seems he was a deckhand on a ship bound for Nova Scotia. When it arrived in the Bay of Fundy, it had some serious troubles and needed to be dry docked for repairs for a length of time that was far too long for my da. At this part of the story, he would look me in the eye and say, 'Not being a landlubber, it wasn't my way to sit around and wait,' and we would both shake our heads really fast." Maeve laughed. "So when a nearby ship was looking for a hand for a short journey to Portland, Maine, my dad jumped at the chance to fill the days until